Welcome, you guys. This is Two Stoner Detectives, a true crime podcast where we discuss all things true crime. And today we're going to discuss the Idaho 4 murders. And we are back to the drawing board, as the thumbnail suggests, or bored, BORED, because let's be real. We truthers, or conspiracy theorists, as they say, are truly bored. We're bored of the same song and dance and lies. Idaho, one content creator, put on his thumbnail. Speaking of dance, Dylan tells the Moscow Police Department that she woke up to Kaylee and Murphy dancing at 4 a.m. that morning or night, however you look at it, the early hours of the morning. But for these college students, it was still early. They partied till late. But see, I am a bit confused here, Dylan. You see, the phone records show that you added a new contact at 3:51 a.m. And the records also show, which I'll post here, I'll share my screen in a minute, that there was a post made on Vsco, a Vsco app. It's an artsy aesthetic app for girlies like me. I used to have one. Typically used to post photography, etc. Well, Dylan posted a photo at 3:33 a.m. When was the photo taken, I wonder? I'll show you that picture in a bit. The takeaway here is that we now know that Dylan was wide awake that morning. Why are you doing this? I ask myself sometimes. Brian pled guilty. He took the plea deal, and he will likely be in prison for the rest of his life. Pitiful life. He took the plea. How can you be innocent? You admitted to murdering 4 innocent, beautiful souls. Their life was cut short. Why are you doing this? I ask myself sometimes. Well, there's this thing called the truth. What I am seeing in this case is that the truth was withheld. For what reasons, I do not know. However, with no truth, there will be no justice. So they go hand in hand, you see. And I want to shed light on this case and others, as I have on my channel. You can go to our channel. You can go to our old episodes. You'll see we discuss Tamla Horsford, for instance. We discussed the Shanika Williams. We discussed Kendrick Johnson. Because, you see, I believe there was no justice in those cases, and there's so many out there. But you see, our First Amendment is under attack. If you're wide awake, if you know what's going on, if you're seeing things from a different lens than others, you know what's going on. And so, as long as I am able, as long as I am living, breathing, and I have a voice, while I have a voice, I will use my platform, like this YouTube platform here, to express my opinions and thoughts and share factual information on this case and others. And I will expose corruption. I will expose these um, bad police work, for lack of a term. But so long as we have a voice for now. Let's jump into it, shall we? Today, I'll go over Dylan's timeline based on evidence received. I will share the police report and the body cam footage. We will hear and read and try to make sense of this madness. Please share your thoughts as we go along. So, this tells me that there's two people in the bathroom. She heard someone in the bathroom, and I heard her crying. There's two people here. Which bathroom was this? And I heard some guy say that you're going to be okay. This is Jack Decor, which is Kaylee's ex-boyfriend. They were together for about 2 years, and she was leaving. Kaylee was leaving and moving to Austin, Texas, with her friend. And she recently broke up with Jack Decor about 2 months before this tragedy. I paused it here because I want to show, look at the EMT here. They're just arriving now. What were they doing? Their job is to save lives. Why weren't they the first ones on the scene? It's so very strange to me because in every case that I've heard of, actually, this in fact, this happened in the Tamla Horsford case where the EMT was are the ones declare to declare um to declare them dead, essentially. So it's just strange that they were called off. It doesn't matter if the police say that they're dead, it does not matter. They have to follow procedure and be the ones to declare them dead. Nothing to see here. The stumps are full of evidence. She said that all of a sudden she hears a scream. She doesn't wake up to screaming. So I'm assuming here that Murphy is no longer missing. Well, hold on. Well, back up. Hold on. She just said, let me do this. Okay. So I'm going to assume that Murphy was no longer missing and found because Kaylee said, "Well, I'm going to go upstairs and go to sleep." And if Kaylee told Dylan, "Well, I'm going to just go upstairs and go to sleep," then that means that they were all hanging out together, or she just overheard this being told to someone else, right? And notice how, like, Jack Decor is, like, in the background while this is happening too. Notice how Jack Decor is in the background while this is happening too, which is a little creepy. So the crying in the bathroom happened after she said, "Someone's here." You guys, the crying in the bathroom happened after she said, "Someone is here." So yes, so I was right in my assumption. The word just couldn't come out. So yeah, so I was right in my assumption that the beginning of this video where I said, hold up, then someone was in the bathroom with Kaylee. So yeah. Okay, so listen, you guys. So now the guy that she saw, is this another guy or is this the same guy that was in the bathroom with Kaylee? Okay. Are you guys following? So is this person she describing the person that was with Kaylee, but she is afraid to say who he is because she know who he is. So instead, she's describing someone with the black mask to throw off the whole thing because guess what? I can't tell you. Now that's 4 AM. Okay, we all know 4 AM, that fucking timeline has been stuck in this case for 3 years. So, yes, it is clear she said 4 AM. Nothing happens in Moscow. Literally, there was a death, like, a month prior, if I'm not mistaken, a college student, but nothing happens in Moscow. She says, "I don't know where they're at, though." Well, hold on. You just literally said that Kaylee was crying. You said Kaylee was crying in the bathroom with someone else. In the same instance, you saw a masked man, but you have no idea where Kaylee is right now. This fucking bullshit. I hope this is a lesson to everyone that when this happens, you call the cops. Okay, you guys, let's look at Dylan's timeline. So, this is the phone activity exhibit A. Um, as per the court documents. Now, what I want to say here is that this is not enough. This is not enough. What I'm interested in knowing is the location of the phone when these messages were sent and received. I know that's possible. We also need to know if these times are Moscow time or Boise time because there is an hour difference. And if we are to be accurate in this quadruple homicide case, there's little room for error. There's no margin for error. So, again, we need some clarification on these timestamps. So, based on the timeline, Dylan's timeline is that she woke up at 4 a.m., but we don't see any communication out from Dylan's phone at that time. It starts at 4:19. 4:19. 19 minutes? A lot can be done in 19 minutes, and Dylan herself knows that. She kept track of the time. She told one of the officers here in this footage, "It's lagging and giving me connection issues, so I won't I won't play it again, but you can watch it on your own. She tells them that um the incident took about 20 minutes, and that is a red flag for me. You actually kept track of the time. What was going on in that home during those 20 minutes? I mean, at least 20 minutes seems logical because mainstream media had the audacity to tell us these murders happened in 8 minutes. How did they come up with this conclusion? Well, by tying BK to the white Elantra and then telling us that the car we see in the neighbor's footage is for sure 100% the Elantra. That's the Linda Lane. I'm sorry, not the Linda Lane footage. That's the neighbor's footage, which you can also find on these YouTube streets with audio too. You can look into the Linda Lane footage with audio, and you can hear for yourself that there was a lot going on in the neighborhood during these hours. Yet, no evidence was found in BK's Elantra. Well, that doesn't add up because how do you literally stab two people over 70 times? Xana was stabbed about 50. Kaylee, 24, to the face. Okay? Brutally murdered. And leave no trace of DNA, no blood trail, nothing. I shared the photos of the crime scene in my last episode here. Where's the blood, you guys? The crime did not happen in that house, in my opinion. And if it did, there was a cleanup. And that would be the only way I can see BK involved in this hideous murder. If he was the cleanup guy or the driver. Yes, still involved and a piece of shit. But guess what, guys? The killer's still out there. And Idaho is relieved that it wasn't one of them. One of us, one of us. It wasn't. So it was some East Coast dude from PA. Case closed. It's just incredible. So on here, we see that at 2:10, Dylan is asking the Uber driver, where is he? She was asking if he was driving because according to the ISP interview, which I have covered here, you go back to like my previous episodes, according to the Idaho State Police interview, she says she ordered Uber. She ordered some food at 2:10. Okay, so then she gets a message back at 2:13 by the Uber driver confirming he was driving. He's on his way. Maddie calls Bethany at 2:53 a.m. We later learned that Murphy was missing. 3 years later, we had no idea. We had no idea Murphy was missing. Think that's important to the investigation as well. So was this Maddie's call to Bethany at this time? Or it was someone using Maddie's phone? We hear nothing for an hour. There's an hour missing, you guys. There's an hour where the girls, Dylan and Bethany, are not using their cell phones unless the information's not available to us, unless this is all a lie. It's possible. But there's an hour missing. 2:53 was the last text to Bethany, and it doesn't start again till 3:51. That's an hour. But if you want to take into account Dylan's activity, she has not done anything for longer than an hour. Okay. So I'm just trying to think, okay, inside this home, these girls are just chilling inside the home. Kaylee and Maddie get home around 2, so we believe, right? But we don't hear anything until 3:51, where Dylan creates a new contact in her phone. So, Dylan, what I want to know is, why did you tell Moscow that you woke up to Kaylee to dancing with Murphy at 4 a.m. when that's not the case, Dylan? You were awake. You're not going to go to sleep in 9 minutes, Dylan. In 9 minutes after creating a contact, you fell asleep? No, you were awake. You were awake the whole time. You told Emily. You can pull up that Amazon doc too, which I was going to play. I was going to play Emily's interview because, see, Emily said something interesting. She said that Dylan told her that she slept through it. Dylan didn't want to talk about it. Why? Why, I wonder? Because she knows the truth. Dylan states she sees a masked man. She actually says she sees him leave the kitchen door. But according to the photos, you cannot see the kitchen door from Dylan's room. She would have to be standing outside. She would have to be standing outside of her door, meaning she would have seen Xana's body covered in blood laying on the floor. I won't post those photos here on this channel, but you can see a body in the crime photos visible from Dylan's room. You can see a pool of blood. It's so sad. I imagine if Xana died instantly. I imagine if she was choking in her own blood and making noises as Dylan watched and heard and did nothing. There's audio from a camera, that Linda Lane footage, which is not far from the home. You can hear screaming. I mean, real painful screams. There were people at the grub truck around these hours, and no one did anything. The roommates, all of Idaho failed these victims. What a shitty state. So, Dylan's timeline, you see, 2:10 a.m., as I showed you, she messages Uber. 2:53 a.m. is when Maddie reaches out to BF, saying Murphy was missing. So I'm assuming they found Murphy if she heard Murphy and Kaylee go to bed, right? So I'm assuming Murphy was found later. What's the story on that? Can you enlighten us? 3:33 a.m. Dylan posts a photo onto Vsco. at this time. This photo, if you look at it, it's rather interesting. It's interesting to say the least, but we don't know what time that was taken. But you see red liquid on the walls. You see red liquid on the floors. It's fucking weird. It's fucking weird. 3:51 a.m. Half hour later, after posting onto Vsco, she creates a new contact in her phone. Who was it? Dylan, were you actually partying it up? Was that photo actually a live photo that you were posting? And in fact, there was a party at the 1122 residence at that time. Did the murders occur before this time? I want to know the truth. I believe that she was wide awake, Dylan. As I said, the one takeaway we can take out of this case is that Dylan was wide awake. Okay. She was not sleeping. She was not in and out. I was dozing in and out. No, that's a lie. I won't accept that. 4 a.m. Dylan wakes up to Kaylee and Murphy dancing. So Murphy is found. He was found at 4, according to Dylan. She heard him. We also hear him barking at 4:19. We also hear him barking at that time, which is quite interesting. That same time that we hear Murphy barking in that footage is when the text messages begin to Bethany. 4:19 precisely. These girls text messaged each other back and forth between 4:19 and 4:37. That's 18 minutes. 18 minutes. 18 minutes is an eternity. It's an infinity when you are fighting for your life. You know, some people were saying that, what's the point? So what? They didn't call the cops right away. There was no way these students would have died anyway. There was no saving them. We don't know that. You don't know that. You don't. Not every human takes pain the same, or fight the same, or tolerate the same. So you do not know that. 18 minutes. They had a choice and did not call authorities. 18 minutes. After researching this case, what is clear to me is that Bethany and Dylan had a choice. That was the length of time, 18 minutes. That was the length between their text exchanges and phone calls and what was going on in that house in this time. You know, Dylan was right. The incident did take 20 minutes or so. She was so right. I truly wonder what happens in that home in those 18 minutes. We hear and read the panic, fear, and confusion here in this footage and in the police reports. Dylan sees a masked man leaving. Here's her friend crying and scared. Bethany hears a firecracker. gun possibly? We don't know. 18 minutes turns to 8 hours, and thus the investigation began with no clear or solid foundation of a timeline of the truth. I have a sneaky suspicion that there is something deeply sinister in this case, involving corruption, involving people in power. Like George Carlin says, there's a club out there, and you and I are not in it. There's more I want to dig into as it relates to the touch DNA found on a knife sheath, which was the only link to BK in the murders. The prosecution literally told us there was no link to BK and the victims. Literally said that. I want to post this now. What did they do to these people? What happened here? What happened with these girls? Jealousy, hate. What happened? That's what they told us. After the case, they said there was no link to Brian and the victims. You can find that video somewhere. Literally, zero, zilch, nada. But we got the guy, and we get to keep our jobs. Right, Idaho? I want to know why Brian's DNA was the only DNA sent for testing. There was DNA from an unnamed male found, but we don't know whose it was. Who is holding the court responsible? Who? Who's holding the judge responsible? No one. No one, because it's over. Othram, which is the lab that tested the DNA for genealogy, stated in an interview at this year's CrimeCon in Colorado that they physically did not receive the knife sheath. How was the DNA lifted then? Are we the public privy to this process or procedure? Because I'm curious. How does Othram know that the DNA they received was in fact from the sheath? Right, guys? Could be anyone's. What, the sheath? Where is the sheath? Have any of you seen the actual sheath? I'm sure it was bloody. It was found near Maddie's body. It had to be bloody. Huh? That sheath they keep showing us in pictures, that's not it. Both Maddie and Kaylee were found on a twin-size bed, laying face up. If it was on the right side of Maddie, then it was between both of them. Then guess what, guys? The sheath was bloody because Kaylee was stabbed over 20 times. Where's the blood? Where's the blood? The crime scene photo shows the lack of blood and struggle. Even the beer pong table and the cups, they're still holding up. They're holding up. It's not possible. Kaylee's mom believed the attack to be personal. Her motherly instincts kicked in. If you're a mom, you know what I mean. I also believe it was personal. If you believe Brian Koberger unalived these beautiful souls, then I have a bridge to sell you. A shack, rather, near train tracks, preferably, because I bet you'd buy it. Rest in peace to the victims, Maddie, Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan. If Kaylee were still alive, she would not stop until she finds out who did this to their friends. Where are the G's? I honestly thought the G's were the family to fight back. Instead, they were sold a bridge and they bought it. Thanks for watching. God bless and be safe.